what you're going to learn in this session, we're going to cover intro to the hi-hat. We're going to cover playing the bass drum and the hi-hat together. We're going to start adding some different voices here, the hi-hat and the bass drum, and then adding the snare drum into the mix with the three. Now, these are the basic components of the kit. This is where most of your playing is going to occur. So once you get the understanding of them, you're going to be able to do the fourth thing, which is playing your first drum beat. Now, the skills you're going to master in session 2 are the ability to play and count solid eighth notes on the hi-hat, much like I was doing in the little play on there. And also your ability to play and count a solid pulse on the bass drum while you play those eighth notes on the hi-hat. You're also going to be able to play a nice backbeat on the snare while you play a pulse on the bass drum, and either eighth notes or 16th notes on the hi-hat. Now, we'll define what those mean in just a minute. But first, we're going to have to deal with this little animal right here, the hi-hat. This hi-hat has got a lot of moving parts in it. And basically, what is a hi-hat? Well, it's this thing over here on the left with a pedal, spring-loaded pedal, and the two cymbals. And the top cymbal is attached to a rod that pulls via the pedal, via the spring-loaded pedal, and connects with the bottom cymbal to get a chick sound. You can play it with your foot like that, or you can play it with your hands. And you can use combination, foot and hand. So the hi-hat, for that reason, happens to be one of the most expressive voices of the drum set, and it's a key component of this nucleus of bass drum, snare drum, and hi-hat. So in setting up the hi-hat, I think it's covered in depth in the CD or the DVD extras, but I feel it's important. Let's deal with it just really quickly here because it's such an important instrument. So I'm going to take it apart really quickly. I'm going to pull the top hat off. I'm going to pull the bottom cymbal off as well. And I'm going to pull the telescoping tube out here. Now you'll notice that there is a washer and a piece of felt that go over this little protection. This guides the rod, this little plastic piece right here. It guides the rod up and down, keeps it straight, so it moves straight. Now, this washer, this big washer goes on the bottom here, and what happens is there's a screw attached so that if you screw the screw up, you see it hitting against the washer? That way you can adjust the angle of the bottom cymbal in order to get a better chick sound when you use your foot. If they're perfectly straight, a lot of times it creates a vacuum and they get stuck together. So that's why that screw's there, to help you get rid of that vacuum. Okay, now what you do when you're setting up your hi-hat, you got this rod here too, and it screws into another rod in the bottom part of the bass. So I'm going to take it off. See this rod here? So we got these two things that we're going to have to deal with. But real quickly, so we've got this tripod bass. It's going to come like that. Then you take this wire brace here, and it's got two little holes in this formed metal piece at the bottom that holds the pedal secure. And then you have basically two spurs here. If you're having problems with your hi-hat creeping, you can engage these spurs and it won't creep. But usually they stay pretty still without it. So I'm going to put the thing down, engage, get the tripod out, and then we're going to take the washer and the felt washer, the metal washer and the felt washer, and put them down like that. We're going to screw the rod in. Bada bing. This goes over the top, down, telescoping inside of the tripod base. And then we're going to take our bottom cymbal. Now these cymbals, really interesting about the cymbals, the bottom hi-hat is always heavier than the top hi-hat. And most likely they'll be labeled as such. If you have an old set of cymbals and they're not labeled, you can just tap the cymbal and determine which one's the bottom cymbal. If it's higher pitched, it's probably going to be heavier. It should probably go on the bottom. So I'm going to put the bottom cymbal on here, like so. And then the top cymbal, okay, here's where things get really interesting. There's a device that attaches the top cymbal to the rod that's called a clutch, and it looks like this. And there's a wing screw on the top that attaches and tightens the clutch to the rod. And then we have a nut down here and 2 felt washers. And then we have some other nuts up at the top of the clutch here. And what these are for is to adjust the looseness or tightness of the top cymbal inside of the clutch. So you want to put your 2 nuts on. It'll probably come already assembled, so your nuts are already on here. Then you put your first felt washer on. Then you put the cymbal on top of the felt washer, and then the other felt washer on the bottom, just like that. And that creates a nice cradle for the cymbal to lay in. Then you take your last nut and put it over like that, and kind of create a little, it should not be terribly tight. It should be loose enough that the cymbal can float slightly, just like that. Now we're going to take the cymbal and we're going to reach over and put it on the hi-hat and attach it with the wing screw, like so. And then I'm going to adjust my little screw in the back to get just enough tilt so that the hi-hats don't stick together. There we go. Now, the distance between cymbals is a matter of personal preference and personal taste. But at this time, I'm going to recommend that you set them to about 1 inch apart. What you want to think about is if you set them too far apart, you're going to have to work really hard to get the cymbals to close. Now, if you set them too close together, you're going to not be able to get a good chick sound. It's just going to sound something like that. So, just like with the bass drum pedal, we've got a wide range of tension possibilities. On the tripod bass, there's going to be some kind of adjustment on your pedal. So just fool around with that until you find the correct or the most comfortable tension for you. I recommend at this point that we have kind of a loose tension just so we can get started, and then you can adjust it a little later on. Now, the hi-hat being the most expressive part of the drum set, and that's important because it can be played by the hands, it can be played by the foot, you can use, I was using a closed technique with the foot. You can use open technique. That's a technique that's dealt with in the DVD extras. You can also use what we call hi-hat barks, which is where you open the cymbal with your foot and you create quick open and close sounds that are called barks. I call them barks. I don't know what anybody else calls them. But we'll get into that in depth later in the DVD extras. But first, let's get comfortable adding the hi-hat to the mix. Now, you've set up your hi-hat and you are careful not to set it too low or too high. We dealt with that a little bit, but just to reiterate, if you set it too low, you're going to be clicking your sticks together like when you're playing beats. A good test would be to just play an alternating stream of notes on the hi-hat. And if you're clicking together, you're probably sitting your hi-hat too low. You want to raise it up again. If it's too high, your arm's going to be out like this, and you don't want that because that's going to put stress on your shoulder and your back, and you'll be in the chiropractor before you know it. So we want to set it just where we can get a really nice sound out of the tip of the stick or the shaft. And I'm not having to raise my arm up. Now the hi-hat is a different animal than anything else on the drum set. Being a spring-loaded tube with two cymbals at the top, there is virtually no rebound when it's played with the foot. It just clangs together. So the left foot weight creates downward pressure on the pedal when it's at rest. Let's just look at the at rest position right here. I'm sitting here, my legs on the pedal, and I'm not putting any pressure, just the weight of my leg in the heel up position is keeping the cymbals together. The left foot is in a good starting position in the heel up from which to play rhythm on the hi-hat. So I'm going to recommend that we use the heel up method of playing the hi-hat for now. We'll explore some other techniques and possibilities in a later session. Now the action is going to come from the calf. Let's look at this technique closely. We're going to count each entire bar, but we're only going to play on beats 2 and 4. And we're going to actually look at what's happening. It's kind of like this. 1, 2, 3. We're going to play on 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Do this with me. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if we analyze it, we lift the foot up slightly on the an of 1 and drop our leg on 2. Watch it real slow. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And using this dead weight, my foot's just basically dropping back down on the hi-hat, and it's going to give you a nice full chick sound every time on the hi-hat. Okay, this is really important. I want you to remember not to lift your foot off the footboard at any time. The left foot always remains in contact with the footboard, and this is going to help you prevent unwanted glitches in your sound on the hi-hat. For example, look at this. My foot, when I'm coming up off, making the hi-hat open, my foot still is on the pedal board. I just want to let you know that this movement that we just did is a very natural motion with the left foot. It's not anything to get hung up on. Just relax and let it happen. Don't overanalyze it. In exercise 2, we're going to use the stroke that we learned in the last section. You remember, like casting a fishing rod? We're going to keep our stroke very relaxed and a very loose grip on the stick. It's very, very, very loose. You know, we're building muscle memory here. This is a very important development. And regarding muscle development, here's what the famous drummer and teacher Gary Chester says. He says, if you think of practicing as developing your muscles, you will eliminate the nervousness and hesitation that comes about in your playing. Remember, before anything can groove, it's got to feel good body-wise. Muscles have to be trained and stretched slowly in order for you to make them do what you want them to do. So, here is exercise 2. Now in this one, we're going to use CD number 5, track 2. The name of the song is Bullabunga. It's written by my buddy Larry Bullion. And we're going to play the hi-hat with our hand on the pulse. We're just going to practice. Since the hi-hat doesn't have any rebound, we need to practice this. So we're going to have to provide a little bit of the rebound. So let's just play the basic pulse or the basic beat of the song on the closed hi-hat with the shaft of the stick. And then we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to use this fishing rod motion. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Stay with me. You can do this. Remember our fishing rod? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your body into it. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, let's do. Let's double them now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and these are eighth notes. 1 and because there are 8 of them to a bar. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Now just the pulse again. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's great. You're doing great. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Back to eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and great. You're doing great. And 3 and 4 and 1. Excellent, excellent. Now you might notice that there's some points in the song where I was playing the pulse, and then when I went to eighth notes, I did this. I was hitting with the shaft and with the tip. That main fishing rod stroke was happening on the pulse or on the beat. Then all I was doing was on the upstroke, hitting a little bit on the tip, creating a little bit of a lope. But we're going to deal with that a lot more later. Mainly, I just want you to get that pulse, and then on eighth notes. So you probably noticed that the rebound off the hi-hat is kind of limited, especially when using the shaft like we were on the edge. Now this is where your expertise and the chops that you developed in the last lesson, chops, yeah, that's a word we haven't used yet. That means your technique, your bad, wicked technique. So we want to pull the stick back quickly after each stroke so that we'll be ready for the next. So we're kind of pulling. And what we're doing is we are developing muscle memory here. I want you to go back and work with that song for very long periods. And actually just do this for very long periods without the music. And it's necessary to do this to develop the timing and the relaxation that we need to keep and hold the groove of the band. It's very, very important. The next concept that we're going to deal with is we're going to add the bass drum on the pulse or the beat, however you want to refer to it. And we're going to start by using the heel down technique on the bass drum. And then we're going to use the heel up a little later. And all this while, maintaining the eighth notes using the fishing rod motion on the hi-hat. And just a little tip here. When you learn beats like this, it's going to be necessary to play for long periods to train the brain and the muscles. Fatigue is going to set in. This is normal. And this is when you have to be careful not to tense up and get stiff. Just keep calm and loose. If you start to tense up, take a break, stop, walk away. Things are going to fall apart. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Shouldn't really practice in long marathon sessions. It's not very healthy for your body. Here's a key idea for you. Coordinating the right foot on the bass drum and the right hand on the hi-hat is a vital and important step in the overall coordination of the limbs on the drum set. So just take your time and get comfortable playing this kind of rhythm on the kit. So now we're going to jump into exercise 3. We're going to use Play Along CD number 5, track number 2, again, the song Bullabunga. Now with your right hand on the hi-hat, we're going to play on the pulse with the bass drum for a while just to get the beat of the song started and get the song in your head and in your body. Okay, let's do it. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do heel down in the bass drum. Okay, now let's move to eighth notes in the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Let's do this for a long time. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got it. You're doing great. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Excellent, excellent. Congratulations. You are at the halfway point in learning your first beat. And, you know, we played this with our heel down. I want you to go back and play along with that song for a long time in the heel up position as well. That's the position that you want to use when you want to get power in your playing. So, as in regard to the song we just dealt with, many songs start out like that with just bass drum and hi-hat, and it's important to play the hi-hat with a really relaxed, loose grip like we did. So now we're going to play along with the song all the way to the end, and it's important that you count out loud 1, 2, 3, 4 with the pulse as you play. So let's get comfortable doing this. And there's no need to concern yourself with the arrangement of the song yet. Just concentrate on keeping the pulse and the bass drum steady and the eighth notes on the hi-hat. You really don't want any unintentional flamming between the bass drum and the snare drum. Flamming means hitting of notes slightly apart. And this, if you do this, it should always be intentional, like there's a flam rudiment. That's an intentional thing, but you don't want that when you're trying to play two voices together, exactly together. The pulse notes in the bass drum should act exactly with the corresponding notes of the hi-hat. So then after we play this first pass in the heel down position on the bass drum, go back and do it by yourself using the heel up technique. Maestro, let's roll that song again. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Great. Doing great. 1, 2. Just get comfortable. Staying with the track. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Excellent. You're doing great. Just hang in there. I know you're probably starting to get a little pain in your shin. That's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, Excellent. You're hanging in there great. Keep on. Get into the pocket. You're at the bridge again. Gets kind of intense here. Keep it going. You can do it. Yeah, so you've got to do that for a long time. We have to coordinate the right hand and right foot so that everything lines up perfectly, and so that you can get your body into it. Now we're getting into the real deal. We're going to add the snare drum to the mix. And let's first learn a little bit about the snare drum and its function on the drum set. Like the bass drum, the snare drum was originally a marching drum or a military drum, used as either a signaling instrument or to provide rhythm for parades. Now, at the turn of the 20th century, Dixieland musicians started putting the two together, bass drums and snare drums, along with Chinese tom-toms and cymbals and wood blocks and cowbells, and they finally got a bass drum pedal in the early 1900s, and they put these together in what they call trap sets. And the modern snare drum, like what we have here, is typically 14 inches in diameter with either 10 or 12 tension rods on each head. The top of the head is called the batter head, and it's, of the two heads that are on the drum, the batter head is always the heavier of the two, much heavier than the bottom head. The bottom head is called the resonant head. I'm going to pull the drum off here. The batter head is here, and it comes in many different configurations. The resonant head is here, and it's very thin. And why is it thin? It's thin because it allows the drum to ring out more and allows for more sensitivity from the wire snares at the bottom. What are these wires? They're called snares, and they provide the snap and the buzz that's characteristic of the snare drum. And in manufacturing of the snare drum, there's two crescent-shaped dips in the bearing edge. This edge where the head rests is called the bearing edge, and if you'll look, it's going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but right on either on the butt end and on the throw-off side, there's going to be a little dip in the bearing edge, which allows the snares to rest properly against the resonant head without bowing. And they call this dip, this little crescent that they route out of the drum, they call it a snare bed. Now, on the side of the drum, right at the snare bed, is a device that's called the throw-off. It's on the active side is called the throw-off. And it basically engages the snares. That's in the off position. See, there's no snare activity. When you put it on, bada bing, you get some snare sound. Now the other side is called the butt. That's this side here. So if the bass drum is the foundation of the drum kit, providing the pulse, the snare drum is kind of the centerpiece. You know, it sits between your legs, and it basically provides, it fills out the groove by providing backbeats and embellishments. So what's a backbeat, you might ask? The backbeats are beats 2 and 4 of a 4 count. And let me demonstrate. Let me demonstrate here. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are backbeats. So we want to, you know, getting into the snare a little more, we want to make sure it's just resting in the cradle in such a way that it's not clamped down. We don't want it clamped, because if it's too tight, it'll choke the sound of the drum, and you don't want that. You want the drum to be free to resonate and sing out. So let's do exercise number 4 here. Now this is our first beat. This is the mother of all beats. And we're going to use CD4 track 2. The song's called Stay With Me. It's kind of an adaptation of an R&B song. And we're going to play along with the song Stay With Me. And we're going to continue playing the bass on the pulse, or on the beat, with our heel down, while we double the beat on the hi-hat using eighth notes in that fishing rod technique. And we're also going to count the pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, while we play. So let's get it going here. Go ahead, maestro. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's count. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Add the snare drum on beats 2 and 4. That's back beats. 1. These are called back beats. Just relax with it. You hear that click track? You hear the click track? Tap, tap, tap. That helps you keep your pulse. So we got our back beats happening. Got the snare on 2 and 4. And they call them back beats because they occur on the back side of the beat, or the pulse. Let's just play like this for a while. Just get comfortable. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Great, you're doing great. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't quit on me. Keep on going. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. 3. 1, 3. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2. Keep counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Excellent. Well, after you play 2 passes of the song like that on the bass drum with the heel down, go ahead and play a couple passes of the song using the heel up rebounding method. And just really get your body into it and learn to stay with that click track. That's a really important thing to do. Just relax, keep a loose grip. I know it's a little bit faster than the tempo that we did the last exercise, but you can do it. You've got the chops now to do it. So congratulations. You just learned your first full beat. And if you can play this beat, you can play literally hundreds of songs. This is the mother of all beats. You can master it at many different tempos, slow, medium, like we did, and fast. Like if you play it fast, you know, you're in a whole different feel now. It's basically the same thing we were doing. We can get lots of mileage out of one rhythm, playing it at different tempos. So after this, go back, you know, play with the track again, and this time just have fun. After you've done it, practicing heel up and heel down, keeping it very basic and counting, go back and have fun with it and just see what comes out. Experiment with fills or other riffs that your mind comes up with. You know, I haven't showed you a lot of that stuff yet, but it's about really expressing yourself. I'll bet already you'll be able to express yourself. So maybe do stuff like ride the tom-toms instead of the hi-hat. Doesn't really matter if you don't know all the terms or whatever, just be creative. This is part of the practice session, and it's very important. This is about where you learn about yourself as a drummer and about what works and what doesn't. Just experiment with different sound sources. Take that same beat and put it around on different instruments and see what comes out. So now you've learned your first groove on the drums with 3 limbs, your right hand, your right foot, and your left hand, incorporating the rhythm on the snare drum that we call the backbeat. Working the 3 limbs in this fashion is the basis of what we'll be doing in many future sessions. All right, next we're going to learn to apply the concept of alternating 16th notes in a practical way on the hi-hat. This means creating a rhythm by using alternating sticking like we did earlier. You know, right, left, right, left, right, left, and so forth. Now this is something that you've probably seen drummers do a million times. If you imagine that mechanical Christmas time mechanical drummer boy figurine doing this at your grandma's house, that's the idea. But we're going to do it very relaxed, and we're going to break it down into bite-sized, learnable bits. I know we dealt with it a little earlier in 8th notes, but 16th notes are going to be a little bit faster of a note rate. So learning this concept, however, is going to really increase the numbers of songs that you can play and also the number of fills that you can play by the hundreds. There's many, many songs and many styles that use this concept of alternating 16th notes. It's very easy, but many beginners have trouble doing this because they try to play it too fast out of the starting gate. So just slow it down, take your time. We're not in a race here. It's going to take a few practice sessions to master it. But just learn to enjoy this practicing and learning process. You're really going to dig it after a while. Like up to this point, your right hand has been playing by itself pretty much, doing the 8th notes on the hi-hat. And the left hand has either been inactive or playing the 2 and 4. Now the left hand's going to get much busier. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the metronome here to 60 beats a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. And with our right hand on the hi-hat, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And while keeping the tempo the same, let's double the rhythm that we count to 8th notes. 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now let's double the rhythm we play. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now we've got 8th notes going on the hi-hat. Twice as many as the pulse beat. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, now the left hand is going to fill in the 16th notes. And 4 and 1 E and we'll count 1 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... So that's what it... If you look in your book, you'll see a graphic representation of what it's going to look like. So when we analyze what's happening here, we see that nothing has changed in the right hand. The tempo remains exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is the note rate. We're basically inserting twice the number of notes in the allotted time frame. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to get my metronome here. I'm going to set it to 60 beats a minute. And I'm going to demonstrate some stuff for you here, but I don't want you to play along yet. I just want you to see what's happening. So here's the pulse. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to tap quarter notes with the right hand on the hi-hat while counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, while keeping the tempo the same, I'm going to double the rhythm to what we call eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Notice nothing has changed. Now, while keeping the right hand steady and the tempo the same, I'm going to double the tempo again by adding the left hand, filling in the 16th notes. Check it out. Here we go. I'm going to count. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Now I'm going to play 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. And it's going to look something like this. E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... When we analyze what's happening here, we see that nothing has changed. The tempo is exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is the note rate. We're basically inserting twice as many notes in the allotted time frame. I'm gonna back it back down. Here's 16th notes. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 8th notes. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... Now quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So now, let's work this out. Let's work out the method of learning alternating 16th notes. Now this exercise is 2 bars long. There's going to be 2 cycles of counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it repeats for as long as you want to play the exercise, which I hope is a very long time. And it's designed to get our hands used to playing what we call contrary motion, which is this. So we're going to start again at 60 beats a minute with both hands on the hi-hat. And it starts first with just the right hand. And here's what this looks like. It's going to come up on the screen. It's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. Let's do this together. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and... Good. You can do this. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Excellent. 1 E and a 2 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2. You got it. 3 E and a 4. Don't quit on me. 1. Keep a nice loose grip. And 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Excellent, excellent. So that is how you learn alternating 16th notes. Nothing changes in the right hand. I want you to make sure that you understand that it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So nothing changes over here. So now we're going to do exercise number 6, which is alternating 16th notes on the hi-hat and then adding in the pulse on the bass drum. And this is the basis for many intros to many introductions to the songs. And it's going to provide a nice rhythmic bed for a song verse, as well as it's the halfway point to learning our second beat. So cool. So if we looked at it graphically, it might look like this. Now, the secret to learning and mastering this rhythm is to take one limb at a time and slow it way down. And I'll bet if you have trouble with it, there'll be a tempo that's slow enough you can play this thing perfectly the first time. So let's start playing the bass drum. We're going to use 60 beats a minute. Here we go. 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to add in eighth notes on the hi-hat. 3. While we count. 1, 2. Here we go. Now 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Now let's start filling in the rest of the 16th notes with the left hand. 2, here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4 E and a 1 E. That's it. 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E. Is that too fast? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now we're going to add in the 16th notes and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Excellent. 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Okay. Just keep that going for a long time. After you master it with the heel down, work on it with the heel up with a real powerful stroke. Okay, let's jump into exercise 7. And this is alternating 16ths on the hi-hat with the bass drum and snare drum. And I'm going to call this the dance beat because we're going to move our hand over and we're going to play back beats. So I guess congratulations are in order here. You've now gained the skills that you need to play your second beat. So if we take exercise 6, which was basically just, 16th notes on the hi-hat, quarter notes on the bass drum, and add the snare drum on 2 and 4, we're going to end up with one of the most popular beats of all time. This is something I call the dance beat because it's a very rhythmic foundation that's used as the basis for many club dance music styles. Many current dance songs, songs from the disco era, 70s funk, and even some rock songs employ this beat. And all the notes in exercise 6 are in this beat. All we're doing is just moving the right hand over to the snare drum on beats 2 and 4. Everything else stays the same. Nothing changes. And if we looked at it graphically, it might look like this. So our strategy to learn and master this beat will be as follows. We're going to play exercise 6 very slowly. Let's say around, let's do it around 50 beats a minute. And when we're comfortable and the groove is rock steady, we're simply going to move the right hand from the hi-hat to the snare on beats 2 and 4, and you'll have it. So, as always, if you're having trouble with the coordination, just slow it down. You can always go back and practice with me on the DVD. Now, you'll want to master this first in heel down position on the bass drum, and then heel up. You need to do it both ways. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to start the metronome at 50 beats a minute. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Let's get our eighth notes. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get our 16th notes. 2. Here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. Excellent. 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And now when we got this rock steady, we're going to move our right hand over to the snare drum. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. Yeah, you got it. E and a 3 E and a 4 E. Well, just try to stay with the click. Looking good. Just relax. Nice loose grip. 3 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E, 4 E and a 1. Excellent, excellent. So go back and do that heel up too. Like I was doing it heel down, we want to do it heel up like this. I'll just demonstrate. You can play along later. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 in the heel up position. So, you've heard us use these terms. And you're probably asking yourself at this point, what does he mean by bars and quarter notes and eighth notes and 16th notes? And it's great that you're asking these questions. Basically, these terms and rhythms they represent are just that, just terms. They're really just a way to communicate between musicians and really have nothing to do with the actual music. They're just notes on paper and are a way to remember music. Right now, just take care to learn how a string of eighth notes may sound different from a quarter note over a pulse. In other words, know the difference between the sound of quarter notes, the sound of eighth notes, and the sound of 16th notes in a rhythmic stream. In the next session, we'll get into the mechanisms of reading musical notation. So your assignment is to practice all the exercises that you've been given heel down, then heel up on the bass drum. And remember, we want a rebounding stroke off the bass drum. All right. Well, we have covered a whole lot in this session. We've covered how to set up your hi-hat, how to play it with your foot, how to manipulate it with your hands, how to open and close it. We've covered how to position your feet on the hi-hat. We've covered how to do basic coordination. We played the mother of all beats. We learned how to play 16th notes in an alternating fashion. We learned how to play the dance beat as well. A whole lot of stuff in this session. And you're probably noticing that from playing heel down, you're probably feeling some pain in your shins and stuff, but it's probably feeling a little better by now. So all that stuff that we've been working on, you're going to be able to apply in the future sessions. So with that, have a great time practicing this stuff. Pay special attention to the tracks on the CDs, Bullabunga, Stay With Me, Mysticized, and apply the dance beat to those and apply the mother of all beats to those. And just have a great time. Just go through the CDs and have a ball with them. And we will see you in the next session.